Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Milka. I go by Milka the Movement, and thank you for tuning in. Now, before we get into this, please, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button and make sure you're following me on TikTok. If you're here from TikTok, if you follow me from TikTok, welcome. I know on my TikToks, I do a lot of skits. I don't really talk as much, but I'm happy to have a platform on YouTube where I could talk for as long as I want and say all the stuff that I want without having to worry about TikTok violations. If you're on TikTok, you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially if you're a content creator. So this is the second part of my car getting repossessed. If you haven't already watched that video, please be sure to watch it. It's going to give a lot of context about why my car got repossessed and why I don't have a car today. The link will be in the bio so you guys can watch that video. This part of the video, I just really want to talk to y'all about the things that I learned and some tips that I could give y'all so you guys don't end up like me with getting your car repossessed. In the previous video, one of the things that I talked on a lot about was how car financiers make their money, and essentially how a lot of the money that you pay for when you finance a car does not actually go towards the car. It goes towards interest. I don't know if you guys have heard that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but interest is a mother. Interest is a mofo. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these financiers, that's really how they make their revenue. They don't make their revenue from borrowing and lending. They make their revenue from interest. And I did not know how bad it was until my car got repossessed, because although my payments were $546, only $328 was going to the actual vehicle, the actual payment of the vehicle, or actually, because it wasn't that, only $328 was actually going to the loan, not the vehicle. Just some more reference, the loan that I took out was for $33,000, although my car was only roughly $27,000. So only $328 was going towards my loan. So when my car got repossessed, I still owed $25,000 on the car, which if you do the math, that means that although I had been paying on my car for 2 years, most of the money was just going towards the other stuff that was added and compiled when I got that full loan. I hope that makes sense to you, because I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it any more deeper than that. So with that being said, don't finance no car. Do not finance a car. Tip number one that I have for you guys to avoid getting your car repossessed is don't finance a car. Do not finance a car. The worth of a car, now that I think about it, the best thing that a car can give you is the fact that you don't have to pay for it. The true value in a vehicle is owning it. And if you're still making payments on a vehicle, although it's getting you from point A to point B, it's not really enriching your life. In America, when honestly all across the world, the true benefit of anything is ownership. And until you own it, the financer can screw you over time and time and time and time again. So tip number one, if you have a car that is not yours, that you don't own, it is not a benefit, it is just an additional bill. And unfortunately, the way that the system is set up, they can take that at any time. I didn't mention this in the last video, but I was so appalled to see the amount of people that was talking about how, their car got repossessed and they only had a month of payments or a couple of months of payments left, or their car got repossessed not even because they had payments, but because they had others, just like other fees that they didn't pay and their car got taken away. Like, I'm sorry. The fact that that is even a thing, the fact that you can lose your car even though you made payments is a crime. Like this might sound crazy, but like, I really want Congress to look into that, because these car companies are really taking as much advantage of us as possible. Like I mentioned in my last video, and I'm sorry to keep referencing that last video, but it's going to give great foundational base. When I would hear people getting their car repossessed, I thought it was like some irresponsible person. Now looking into it, especially after it happened to me, you don't even have to be irresponsible. You just have to make a mistake and they'll take your car, and they have every right to do that. And that is so crazy to me. Like, I can't believe that that's the finance world that we live in, where they could just take it whenever they feel like it, and there's not much that you can do about it because you signed a contract. One of the things that the guys told me, the guy from the financing company told me, was that, well, if you would have read it, it was in the contract. And I'm like, that offended me on so many levels, because those contracts are like long. It's multiple pages. It's not written, and I did read my contract. This stuff is not written in regular English. It's written in corporate jargon. No one can understand corporate jargon like that. The only way for me to truly have understood what I was getting into is if I had a lawyer sitting next to me as I was buying that sheet, as I was purchasing that car. No. So my first tip is, do not finance a car. If you cannot buy a car outright or pay off the car within a year, at most 18 months, do not buy that car. Buy a cheaper car. Buy a cheaper car. Again, the value of a vehicle, no matter what the vehicle is, I don't care if it's a 1991 Honda Civic or a 1994 Toyota or a Maybach, a Bugatti, a Bentley, well, no, not a Bugatti, a Bentley Bentayga. The value in any vehicle is ownership. And if you don't own that car, you're going to get screwed over. Now, this is my fourth car that I've owned, that I had, because I didn't own it. But the other three cars were cars that I owned. And my first car was just my mom's old car that she paid off and she got a new car. And the other two cars were rebuilt vehicles, which I actually liked, because you can own a newer model car for a fraction of the price and you wouldn't have any car payments. The only issue with rebuilt vehicles, which is what made me decide to get a brand new car, was that when they have manufacturer issues, a lot of the time those those warranties on the vehicles are not covered. So when they have manufacturer issues, they may or may not fix it for free. But aside from that, don't finance a car. Another tip that I would give to someone buying a new car to avoid repossession is, if you have to finance a car, do not finance through the dealership, finance through a bank or a credit union. I financed through the dealership, and I regret that decision. I should have financed through my bank. Now, when I walked into the dealership, I walked in with my bank approval form to finance. When you get pre-approved, they give you an amount and they give you the sheet, and you can use that to make your purchase on the car. And then, I don't know how they do it, but essentially they bill the dealership whatever you get the car, whatever. I wish I would have just gone with that. The problem was, even though I price matched my car to be within the range of what I got approved with by the dealership, with the additional taxes and fees and tags, it would have been about $2,000 over. And so, with the bank, once they approve you, that's what they approve you for. They won't. The dealership told me to call the bank to get more money, but I knew that they wasn't going to approve me for more money. So, excuse me. So as a result, I was just like, man, if I want to go with what the bank is giving me, I might have to downgrade on a car. And at the time, I didn't want to downgrade on the car. I wanted the car that I wanted. But again, turned out to be a mistake, because now my car is repossessed. So that would be my second thing. Do not finance through the dealership. Again, unless you plan on paying off that car in 18 months, you can put a down payment and always pay your car. Like, you know for a fact that no matter what, the money for the car payment will be there. And I'm not saying you're going to work for it. I'm saying the money for the car will be there, whether you're working or not. Do not finance through the dealership. That is my third point. I would say that was my second. Oh my gosh, I'm confused. My third tip on how to avoid getting your car repossessed is to always put down a down payment. Always put down a down payment. Now, a lot of the dealerships won't tell us, but when we're putting down a down payment, depending on how much we put down, if we're putting down, our standard $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, a lot of the time, those down payments are not going towards the cost of the car. They're going towards the cost of all the fees and whatever else to get the car. So even when you put a down payment, you're still walking out with the car's full bill, which is fine. But that's not a down payment will not lower the overall cost of the car. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't put it down, because what happens is that my car, again, all right, so what I was trying to explain is that sometimes, depending on how much your down payment is, your down payment doesn't go towards the whole cost of the car. A lot of the time it's covering a lot of the fees. And I know that may sound like a bad thing, but it's not, because those fees are just one-time payment things. But when they're bundled up with the loan, now those fees are now getting interest added to them. And in my case, I was getting daily interest. So, and remember, I didn't put down a down payment. So for example, let's say there was a $200 tax, right? The tax, had I just put a down payment, would have just been a flat $200. But because I bundled all those fees into the full loan amount, my interest, I think, was at, I don't remember, but let's say 4%. So 4% out of $200, which is 4% that is occurring daily. Y'all could do the math because I ain't do it, but that's way more than $200. And mind you, I had a 5-year car lease. So 4% occurring daily for $200, that's probably like, I don't know, $400 additional dollars from the $200. So I say all that to say, get a down payment. No matter what you could put, make sure you're putting a down payment on the car. So let's do a recap if you're following. The first tip that I said was, if you can't buy a car or pay it off within 16 to 18 months, I know that number keeps increasing, but we'll keep it at 18 for now. Do not buy a car, or do not buy that particular car. The value of a vehicle is not having to pay for it. That is the true value of a vehicle, is not having any car payments and just owning it out flat. And if you can't do that, that is not an added to your life. That is not doing better to your that is not value added to your life. It's just another bill. Number 2, do not finance through the dealership. I just expressed both in this video and the last video how pretty much dealerships, any financer, not just the dealerships, but the dealerships will screw you up over more. Dealerships, they don't make their financing companies, do not make their money through the loan, you paying them back. They make their money through interest. So they're going to tack on as much interest and give you the world's worst interest payment possible, simply because you don't have the money up front. The third tip that I gave you guys was to make sure that you always put down a down payment. Always put down a down payment, because without a down payment, whatever you didn't pay is going to be bundled up in the cost of the loan that is getting interest occurring daily. The fourth and the final tip that I have for you guys about how to avoid getting your car repossessed like I got mine repossessed is get the car that you want. If you get, I know that's counterproductive. I know that, I know the people that are like, wait, that goes against everything that you say. But no, follow me. Get the car that you want. And when I say get the car that you want, don't just get a car that's going to get you from point A to point B. Get a car that you actually value. If you find value in the car, you'll appreciate it, right? I think one of the issues that happened with me is that once I started realizing how much my car was, I didn't value it as much because I felt like I was paying luxury car prices for reliable, and I was driving a reliable car. So the value, the personal value that I had for my car went down. Now you're probably thinking, well, if I follow that tip, let's say I value a Maserati. I can't afford to pay a Maserati out with flat out within buy it flat out or pay it within 18 months. Yes, that is true. So you know what you do? You get a car that you value that is in your price range, right? So you start looking at things that you actually want in a car. For example, what do you like about the Maserati? Is it just the name? Which, if that's what you like, that's fine. You know, is it the seats? Are the seats leather? Do the seats have a massager? Does it have a backup camera? Does it have blind spot detection? Does that Maserati have a sunroof? Once you start to actually pick out the things that you like in the car, you'll see that there are affordable cars with those same options. There are a lot of affordable cars with those same options. But if you just like it because you think that it's like a status thing, or, it's like a wealth thing and people are going to respect you because you have a Maserati, I'm not here to judge what you like or what you don't like, but I'm just saying it's going to be very difficult for you to find a car and to actually afford and maintain that car. So get a car that you value, get a car that you want. And if the things that you want are not an affordable car, start looking into that luxury car or whatever car it is and start seeing what it is that you like about that car. What it is that you like about that car. Start to see what it is about that car that adds value to your life. Once you start to do that, once you start to deconstruct why it is that you want that car, it becomes so easy to take that value that you had in that luxury car, if it was a luxury car. If it's not, this is still great advice. And then you can apply it to a car that's within your price range. You get what I'm saying? For example, if you want a car, like, for example, when I was buying a car, I was like, I'm not going to get the Tesla, but here are the 3 things that I want in a car. I wanted a sunroof, I wanted blind spot detector, and I wanted a backup cam. My car before that did not have those, and I just felt like those would be really great safety features to have. And I wanted something, that was sleek and that had room. So those were the things that the Tesla had, but I took those things and I added it to the Toyota, and that's why I was very comfortable in my decision. Now, my issue that I had with my Toyota that made me kind of lose heart for it wasn't that it was a Toyota per se, it was the price. So if the only $328 was going towards the car. If I was paying $428 or $380 or just $400, I would not have lost value for the car because it was cheaper than a luxury car. But since I was paying so much more, that's what took away the value. So it wasn't the car itself, it was what I was paying for the car. And that's why it's so important that when you make these big long-term decisions, hopefully they're not long-term, it just has to be of value to you. You have to actually like it. It can't just be something that's getting you from point A to point B. We don't live in that society anymore. I know people are going to have their opinions about that, but it's true. Even if you're content with what you have, there's going to be 8 million images, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on TV, that's going to convince you that you shouldn't be content. You get what I'm saying? So it's okay to really search and dig into what truly is content that you are content with, and take those things and apply it to something that's within your price range. So those are my 4 tips on how to avoid getting your car repossessed like mine. I hope they're helpful. If you have any ideas or any other tips or just any stories that you'd like to share, please be sure to leave them down in the comment. I will be responding to as many comments as possible. Please continue this discussion. I know there are people from all across that watch my videos. So if you have tips that worked for you, something that someone taught you, please leave them in the comments and share them with us so we can all learn how to avoid repossession. Aside from that, my name is Milka. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.